At Thanksgiving dinner, my parents said, "Your brother earned a real future." They gave him the lake house, the savings account, and every family key. 3 weeks later, Mom texted, "The property tax is due." I simply replied. My mother had set 3 things on the table beside the turkey: a brass key on a red ribbon, a savings passbook with a rubber band around it, and an envelope that I recognized as a deed transfer copy because I processed deed transfer copies for a living. I noticed the 3 things when I sat down. I looked at them long enough to understand what they were for. Then I looked at my plate, and I passed the rolls, and I waited. There were 6 of us at the table. My father Nolan at the head, my mother Audrey beside him, Spencer across from me with his girlfriend, Aunt Rosalind at the far end, who had driven 3 hours for the holiday and who I had always liked because she says what she thinks, and me. The dinner had been ordinary up to the point of the 3 things. The turkey, the glazed carrots, the stuffing, the kind of conversation Thanksgiving produces, updates without depth, questions without real follow-up, the comfortable noise of a family that does not talk about what it is actually thinking. I had driven 2 hours to be there. I had brought wine and a pie from the bakery near my apartment. I had helped carry dishes and set the table. I had done what I do at family gatherings, made myself useful without being asked. My father cleared his throat after the plates were filled. He does this when he has prepared something. The sound is distinct from his regular voice, in a way I learned to recognize long ago. He said, "Your mother and I have been thinking about the future, about what we want to leave behind while we are still here to see it done right." He said they had decided to make some decisions now, while everyone was together, instead of letting things get complicated later. Spencer was sitting across from me. He was 29 and had recently started a 4th job in 5 years, this one in logistics coordination, and he had the particular ease of someone who has never spent more than a few weeks wondering what his family thinks of him. He was looking at the 3 things on the table. He already knew. I could see it in the way he was not looking at me. My father picked up the savings passbook. He said the family savings account, $47,000, was being transferred to Spencer to give him a foundation. He said Spencer was at a point where the right support could make a real difference. He said, "Your brother earned a real future, and we want to make sure he has the tools to build it." Spencer's girlfriend smiled at the table in the way people smile when they are at someone else's family event and something significant is happening and they are not sure where to look. He picked up the brass key. He said the lake house was being signed over to Spencer. He said my mother and he had discussed it, and the property would be better used by someone who could develop it into something. Spencer had ideas. They trusted Spencer to carry the family name on that property the way it deserved to be carried. He slid the envelope across the table. Spencer opened it. Inside were 3 keys on a ring, the lake house front door, the storage unit behind it that held the maintenance equipment I had organized over 6 years, the workshop. Spencer put all 3 keys in his jacket pocket with the easy comfort of someone receiving something that was always going to be his. Aunt Rosalind, sitting to my left, looked at her plate. She picked up her fork and used it, which is how Rosalind handles things she cannot change. I passed the gravy when it came around. I ate the turkey. I said the pie was good when my mother asked. I did not say anything about the 3 things or about what they represented in the context of the previous 6 years. There was nothing to say that would have changed anything, and I already knew what I was going to do in the morning. I drove home. I let myself into my apartment. I sat at my kitchen table, and I thought about what 6 years looked like in receipts and maintenance logs, and what my job had taught me about county records and billing contacts, and what happens to a property when those records are not updated. I knew what I was going to do in the morning. I just wanted to sit with it first. Welcome to Family Secret Tales. My name is Graham. Before I tell you what I did that morning, I need to tell you about the 6 years, because nothing that came after makes sense without them. Let me tell you first about how my family distributes things, because it is the foundation of everything else. My father Nolan has spent his life operating on the belief that effort and reward should flow toward the person with the most visible potential. In practice, this meant Spencer, who was charming and quick to promise things, received resources. I, who was quiet and did the things that needed doing, received the expectation that I would continue doing them. This pattern was established early and ran without interruption. When Spencer needed money for his first car, my parents gave it. When I needed money for mine, I saved for it. When Spencer dropped out of his first college program, they found him a better one and paid the difference. When I finished my degree and took a county job, they said that was good and moved on. I want to be clear that I am not telling you this for your sympathy. I am telling you because it explains why nobody at the Thanksgiving table was surprised. Not even Aunt Rosalind, who only looked at her plate. The lake house belonged to my grandfather first. He bought it in 1981 for what was then a significant amount of money and spent the following 28 summers there. He used it the way people used lake properties before the era of short-term rentals and lakefront development. He went there to fish, to sit on the porch in the evening, to bring family when family wanted to come. He died in 2009 and the property transferred to my father per the will. My father had good intentions about maintaining it and followed through on none of them, which is a pattern I recognized early and learned to work around. The summer after my grandfather died, my father drove up to the lake house 3 times. He assessed the maintenance situation each time, made notes about what needed to be done, said he would get to it, and drove home. By the following spring, the dock had 2 rotted planks that were becoming a hazard. The roof near the east gutter had developed a leak that was beginning to affect the wall below. The workshop was accumulating moisture that was going to damage the tool storage if nothing was done about the foundation seam. When I was 22, I started going to the lake house on weekends to do the maintenance myself. Not because anyone asked, because the alternative was watching the property rot, and I found I could not do that. The dock had 2 rotted planks. The roof near the east gutter let water in. The workshop had a moisture problem beginning to damage the tool storage. I fixed the dock planks. I patched the roof. I installed a dehumidifier and sealed the foundation seam. My father said good work when I told him. He did not offer to help or cover the materials. He said good work and moved on. I noted that and continued. Over 6 years, I made 41 documented maintenance trips. I kept a log because I tracked mileage, thinking I would eventually discuss reimbursement with my family. The conversation never happened. Raising it would have meant admitting I was tracking what I spent on their property, and I sensed that would land as a complaint rather than a reasonable accounting. So I kept the log in my personal files and said nothing, which is, I understand now, exactly what made everything possible for so long. I repaired the dock twice, replaced the water heater, restained the exterior siding, replaced 2 windows, cleared the drainage ditch twice after heavy summers, repaired the warped workshop door, installed a new lock system when the old one failed. Spencer came to the lake house twice in 6 years, both times for weekends with friends. On one visit, his group left the workshop door unlatched in the rain, and the tool storage got wet. I drove up the following weekend and dried everything out. Spencer texted to say it looked great up there. Material cost from my own account, $11,300. Hours of labor, more than I have counted. Miles driven, enough that I replaced my tires twice in 6 years and attributed it, privately, to the lake house road. Nobody asked me to keep going. Nobody offered to split the cost or take a turn. The arrangement was never stated outright. It was simply understood, the way things in families become understood without being said. Graham goes to the lake house when something needs doing. Graham handles the maintenance. Graham knows what to do with a foundation seam and a drainage ditch. Graham does not need to be asked. I want to be fair about something. My father was not a cruel man. He did not devise a plan to use me. He simply found, as people find, that a system operating without friction is a system they do not need to examine. The lake house was being maintained. The bills were being paid. Someone was handling it. He had not asked who that someone was in several years. My mother visited twice in 6 years and said the kitchen was dated both times. Spencer came twice, left the workshop door unlatched in the rain once, sent a text afterward that said it looked great up there. My father came once, in the 3rd year, and said the roof pitch seemed off, and that was probably going to be a problem in the long run. He drove home the same afternoon. I replaced the water heater the following spring. The property taxes were the other thing. In this county, property taxes are billed annually to whoever is listed as the tax mailing contact and payment contact in the county record. That was me. When I started doing the maintenance, I updated the mailing address to my own, so the bills would not get lost. That update made me the billing contact on file. My father paid the first 2 years. After that he stopped, without announcement, just with silence where the payment had been. I paid the 3rd year figuring I would mention it later. Later did not arrive the way it often does not arrive. I paid the fourth year, the fifth, the sixth. Total, $23,800. Not reimbursed. Not mentioned at Thanksgiving. Not acknowledged when the savings passbook went across the table. The $47,000 in that savings account had accumulated over 30 years. I had contributed twice when my parents asked, $3,000 once and $1,500 once. My total, $4,500. Spencer had never contributed anything. My mother told me this 4 years ago in a different conversation about a different financial matter, and I had noted it the way I note everything that seems like it might matter later. I am a municipal tax assessor. I note things that might matter later. The lake house and the savings account were my parents to give. They had the legal authority and they exercised it. What I had was not a legal claim. What I had was 6 years of receipts, 6 years of maintenance logs, and a clear understanding of exactly what happens to a property in this county when the billing contact stops handling the bill. I sat at my kitchen table and I thought about all of that until it was late. Then I went to bed. In the morning, I went to work. I have worked in the county tax assessor's office for 9 years. What I do, in plain terms, is assess property values for tax purposes and maintain the records that determine who receives tax bills and who is held responsible for payment. I know every step of the delinquency process because I am the person who generates the notices. Let me tell you something about what 9 years in a county records office teaches you about families. It teaches you that the legal record and the family understanding are almost never the same document. Families operate on arrangements that feel permanent because they have worked for a long time. The legal record operates on names, dates, parcel numbers, and filing references. When those two systems stop matching, the legal record wins, every time. I have watched families lose properties they believed were theirs for generations because one person stopped maintaining the record. I have watched siblings fight over a property while a tax lien accrued interest they did not know about. I have processed delinquency notices on properties that had been in one family's name for 40 years because no one updated the billing contact after the patriarch died, and the bills sat unopened in an empty mailbox for 2 years. The county does not care about arrangements. The county cares about names on forms. Let me explain how the billing system works, because it is the thing that mattered. When a property changes ownership, the new owner needs to update the county record to reflect the change. This includes updating the tax mailing contact and payment contact, which is the name and address the county uses for billing. It also includes confirming the owner of record for lien and enforcement purposes. If the ownership changes, but the billing contact record is not updated, the county continues billing the old contact and holds the property accountable through the new owner of record. My name was in the county system as the tax mailing and payment contact. The deed had transferred to Spencer, making him the owner of record, but the billing contact had not been updated because nobody in my family had filed the change. It had been 3 weeks since Thanksgiving, and nobody had touched the county record because nobody in my family understood that the county record required touching. I want to be precise about something. I did not update that record myself using my internal county access. That would have been a conflict of interest, and I do not work that way. I submitted the same public change form available on the county website, the one any taxpayer can submit, and I flagged the file for Ida Wentworth, my department supervisor, to process because my name was on the existing file. She handled it. I had no administrative role in my own family's property record. That is the correct process, and that is what I followed. Now let me explain what happens when the tax bill goes unpaid. 30 days past the due date, the county files a delinquency notice against the property and the owner of record. At 60 days, the county places a tax lien on the property. A lien is a legal claim that prevents any sale, transfer, or use of the property as collateral until the debt is cleared. Renovation permits and construction authorizations on a delinquent parcel are put on administrative hold. Interest accrues at 1.5% per month. At 2 years, the county can begin tax sale proceedings. Spencer had ideas for the lake house, renovation, rental income, lakefront development. He had mentioned them at Thanksgiving, with the confidence of someone who had not yet thought about what the word permit meant in a practical context. Permits required a clean tax record on the parcel. A delinquent parcel could not move forward with permitted construction. Tax records are not family promises. They are names, dates, parcel numbers, and payment responsibility. My name was coming off the record. Spencer's name was going on. That is what I did on the morning after Thanksgiving. Not revenge. A form. I was at my desk at 8:15 the morning after Thanksgiving. The office was quiet. Holiday week. Most colleagues still out. Felix was in because Felix is always in. He set a coffee on my desk without asking and went back to his side of the room. I appreciated the coffee. I appreciated that Felix did not ask how Thanksgiving went. I pulled up the billing contact transfer form on the county portal. I had completed this form dozens of times for other people's properties. It is a single-page form. Current billing contact name and address. New billing contact name and address. Property parcel number. Ownership transfer reference, if applicable. The form does not ask why you are making the change. The county does not require a reason. The county requires only that the person initiating the change is the current billing contact of record, which I was. I filled in the property address. Current billing contact, Graham Elliott Sheridan, my home address. New billing contact, Spencer Daniel Sheridan, as owner of record per the deed transfer dated the previous evening. I attached the deed transfer reference number, which I had pulled from the county record that already reflected the change my father had filed with the deed office. Because my name was on the existing file, I flagged it for Ida Wentworth with a brief note. Family property, my name on the current record, requesting you process to avoid conflict. She replied, within 40 minutes, confirmed, processing now. The update confirmation came through at 11:14 a.m. Spencer Daniel Sheridan, owner of record, tax billing contact. Effective immediately. I forwarded the annual tax bill to Spencer that same morning. The bill had already been generated and sent to my address before the update processed. I forwarded it with a single sentence. The billing record has been updated in the county system per the ownership transfer. The $4,200 property tax is due December 15th and is now your responsibility as owner of record. He replied at 2:48 that afternoon. The reply said, "Got it, thanks." He did not ask any follow-up questions. He did not ask what the deadline meant or what happened if it was missed. He sent 2 words and went back to whatever he had been doing on a Black Friday afternoon. 3 weeks passed. The December 15th due date arrived and passed without payment. I knew this because I tracked the payment log for properties in my section, and the Sheridan Lake House parcel was in my section until I transferred it after the delinquency notice generated. The parcel showed no payment recorded by close of business December 15th. On December 18th, 3 days after the due date, my mother texted me, "The property tax is due Friday. Send the $4,200 like usual." I read the message twice, not because I needed to read it twice to understand it, but because I wanted to be sure about what the message was actually saying. It was not asking. It was not reminding Spencer. It was texted to me, with the words like usual, like usual. Like the previous 6 years of payments were a habit I was expected to continue, unchanged, regardless of what had happened at the Thanksgiving table 3 weeks before. I opened my files and found the screenshot I had saved of the county billing contact update confirmation. Filing date, November 29th. Property address. Previous billing contact, Graham Elliott Sheridan. New billing contact and owner of record, Spencer Daniel Sheridan. Status, confirmed. Processed by I. Wentworth, County Tax Assessor. I sent the screenshot to my mother. Below it I wrote 4 words. Spencer owns it now. She did not respond for 43 minutes. I made dinner. I had been planning to make pasta, and I made pasta. I ate at the kitchen table with the news on low in the background. Nothing from my mother. Nothing from Spencer. Nothing from my father. The apartment was quiet, in the particular way it is quiet when you have done something irreversible, and the other parties have not yet understood what it was. At 7:26, my mother called. I let it ring. She called again at 7:34. I let that one ring too. She texted at 7:39. "What is this supposed to mean? Call me." I replied by text. I said the county billing record was updated on November 29th. Spencer is the owner of record and the tax billing contact. The bill was forwarded to him on December 1st. The due date was December 15th. She replied, "You cannot just remove yourself from this. This is not how family works." I said, "It is how county records work." I sent a link to the county tax assessor's website, specifically the page that explained the billing contact update form and who could submit it. She did not reply to that. Spencer called at 8:11. He had the voice of someone fresh off a long call with my mother, arriving at a position he had not quite finished building. Graham, the tax bill. There is some filing that changed everything. I submitted a billing contact update, I said, on November 29th. You are the owner of record. The bill follows the deed. I did not know about this. I emailed you on November 29th and again on December 1st, I said. Subject line said property tax billing update. A pause. I did not read those emails, he said. I understand, I said. I cannot pay $4,200 right now, he said. The savings account. I moved it. I waited. Into the renovation deposit, he said, and some startup costs for the consulting business. $31,000 into the contractor. The rest into the business launch. There is nothing liquid right now. I thought about this for a moment. My parents had given Spencer $47,000 to give him a foundation. 3 weeks later, the $31,000 was in a contractor's account for a renovation that could not begin until the tax record was clean. The rest had gone into a business launch. The savings account that was supposed to be the foundation was empty, and the property tax on the asset they had given him was still due. The foundation had lasted 3 weeks. The county has a payment plan for property tax delinquencies, I said. I can send you the information page. Another pause. Longer. Graham, he said, you have always handled this. I handled it for 6 years, I said. The billing record has been updated. The property is yours. Dad said you earned a real future. Property tax is part of a real future. I ended the call. I finished my dinner. I rinsed the plate and put it in the drying rack and went to my living room. I had a book I had been working through for 2 weeks. I read 4 chapters. I went to bed at a reasonable hour. For the first time in 6 years, the lake house property tax was not on my list of things to track. The county delinquency notice generated on January 16th, 32 days after the December 15th due date. I saw Spencer's property address come through the system on a Tuesday morning. I noted it and transferred the file immediately to Felix, citing the family connection and standard conflict protocol. I did not process the notice myself. I did not intervene. I did not quietly pay the bill and let the system clear. I transferred the file and went back to my queue. Felix processed it. The formal delinquency notice went to Spencer as owner and billing contact by certified mail on January 19th. Penalty added, $420. Total now due, $4,620. 2 days after the notice arrived, the parcel was flagged in the county permit system. Spencer had submitted a renovation permit application in December for the lakefront development he had mentioned at Thanksgiving. The permit was put on administrative hold, pending resolution of the tax delinquency. Standard procedure. A delinquent parcel cannot move forward with permitted construction until the tax status is cleared. Spencer called me that afternoon. He had received the certified mail that morning and had spent several hours deciding what to do about it. There is a delinquency notice, he said. Yes, I said. And my renovation permit is on hold. Yes, I said. Delinquent parcels are flagged in the county permit system. The hold lifts when the tax status is cleared. You sent the notice, he said. I transferred your file to Felix on the day the notice generated, I said. Standard conflict protocol. Felix Okafor is your contact for this file. I have no administrative role in your property record. He said, can you just clear it? You work there. You know how this works. I know how this works, I said. The bill needs to be paid. $4,620 as of today. Payment clears the delinquency and lifts the permit hold. He said, Graham, come on. I said, the county payment plan is available for delinquencies. Interest accrues during the plan period, but the permit hold can sometimes be conditionally paused pending plan compliance. Felix can explain the options. I can send you his direct contact. He said my father was going to call. I said I understood. My father called at 6:52 that evening. I was at my desk finishing a report. I answered because I had told Spencer I would, and I keep what I say. Graham? His voice had the weight of someone who had spent the afternoon building a case he believed was unassailable. The delinquency notice. The permit hold. You need to fix this. The tax bill needs to be paid, I said. Payment clears the delinquency and lifts the permit hold. You know what I mean. You have always handled the taxes on that property. Handle it. I handled them for 6 years, I said. I submitted a billing contact update on the morning after Thanksgiving. Ida Wentworth processed it on December 1st. Spencer is the owner and the billing contact. The taxes are his. You did this on purpose, he said. I submitted a public form that any taxpayer can submit, I said. Spencer signed the deed transfer at Thanksgiving. He is the owner. The billing contact follows the owner. You knew he would not be prepared for this. I said nothing for a moment. I let that sentence sit between us. Dad, I said, at Thanksgiving dinner you transferred the lake house, the family savings account, and every property key to Spencer because he earned a real future. You said that. At the dinner table, in front of Aunt Rosalind. 3 weeks later, Mom texted me asking me to send $4,200 like usual for a property I no longer have any interest in. He said, the family depends on continuity. You have always provided that. The billing record reflects who is responsible, I said. The record now reflects Spencer. That is continuity. You are punishing Spencer for something your mother and I decided, he said. I said, I am not punishing anyone. I filed a form. Spencer has the property. Spencer has the tax obligation. Felix Okafor is handling the file because I recused myself from my family's parcel. Felix can walk Spencer through the payment options. He said, I need you to make this right. I said, you gave the property to Spencer because he earned a real future. A real future includes property taxes. The county payment portal accepts credit card, check, and electronic transfer. I can send Spencer the link tonight. He said I was making this harder than it needed to be. 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, I said, Mom texted me to send $4,200 like usual. That sentence tells me exactly how this was always supposed to work. I was supposed to keep being responsible for a property I did not own, indefinitely, while Spencer had the asset and the keys and the savings account. I simply updated the record to match reality. He said he expected better from me. I said I understood and ended the call. He left one voicemail that evening. I listened to it the following morning before I left for the office. It said my behavior was damaging relationships that could not be easily rebuilt. It said the family expected me to act with maturity. It said he had hoped I was past this kind of thing. It used the word family 4 times in 90 seconds, which is a pattern I have noticed in conversations where the word family is doing the work that an argument cannot do. I saved the voicemail to a folder labeled January and went to work. The lien filed on February 15th, 1 day after the 60-day mark. Felix processed it per standard procedure. The lien attached to the lake house property record, a legal claim for $4,830, the original $4,200 bill, plus 2 months of accruing interest, and the late penalty. A property under active tax lien cannot be sold, transferred, or used as collateral until the debt is cleared. The renovation permit remained on administrative hold. The contractor Spencer had paid the $31,000 deposit to, had been asking about the start date for 6 weeks. He was not going to wait indefinitely. Spencer called me the day the lien notice arrived. I answered, "There is a lien now." He said, "Yes," I said. 60 days from delinquency, per county procedure. My contractor is pulling out if I cannot show a clean tax record by the end of the month. I understand, I said. Payment clears the lien. Felix Okafor is the file contact. He can explain the payment plan options and whether the permit hold can be conditionally lifted while a plan is active. The renovation deposit is gone, Spencer said. The business launch money is committed. I do not have $4,830 liquid right now. I thought about the savings passbook going across the Thanksgiving table. I thought about my father saying Spencer needed the tools to build a real future. The tools had lasted less than 90 days before the tax bill made the lake house unmovable. The county payment plan allows monthly installments, I said. Interest continues during the plan period, but the permit hold can sometimes be administratively paused, pending plan compliance. Felix can walk you through the timeline, he said. Dad said you would fix this. I said, Dad was describing the previous 6 years. The billing record changed on December 1st. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said the whole thing felt like I had planned it from the beginning. I said, I submitted a billing contact update form the morning after Thanksgiving. The form is on the county website. Any taxpayer can submit it. You signed the deed transfer at dinner. You are the owner. The bill followed the deed. He ended the call. The tax bill did not take the lake house overnight. It did something worse. It stopped every plan Spencer had for it. The contractor deposit was tied up in a job that could not begin. The renovation that was supposed to turn the lake house into rental income was frozen at the planning stage. The $47,000 that was supposed to be a foundation had been distributed into commitments that could not be unwound. The property sat with a lien on its record and a permit hold on its parcel, and no one with the cash to clear either. My mother texted me 2 days after the lien notice. The text said she did not understand why I was doing this to the family. I read it. I sat with it for a moment. I thought about what the word "this" meant in that sentence. Doing this. What this was to her was, Graham stopped paying the taxes on a property he did not own. What Graham had done, from where she sat, was a thing he was doing to the family. I thought about the 41 maintenance trips. I thought about the $23,800 in tax payments over 6 years. I thought about the $11,300 in materials. I thought about the workshop door I had fixed 3 times and the water heater I had replaced alone on a Saturday in November, and the drainage ditch I had cleared twice in the rain. I thought about Spencer's text that said it looked great up there. I thought about the brass key on the red ribbon, and the savings passbook, and the envelope with the deed copy, and Aunt Rosalind looking at her plate. I did not reply. My father called once more in early February. He left a voicemail that said he had been thinking about the situation and wondered if there was a way to resolve it that worked for everyone. He said the word family again. He said he hoped I understood that decisions made at the Thanksgiving table were made in good faith. He said he and my mother loved me. I listened to the message while eating lunch at my desk. I thought about what in good faith meant in the context of a family savings account and a lake house being transferred to my brother at a dinner table 3 weeks before my mother texted me asking for $4,200 like usual. I thought about it for the length of the message, and I put my phone down and ate the rest of my lunch. I did not call back. In late February, Felix knocked on my office door. He said Ida Wentworth had flagged the Sheridan Lake House file in the backlog review and wanted to confirm the conflict of interest notation was properly documented. I said yes, it was. He said good. She just wanted the protocol clean in the record. I said I appreciated that. Ida sent me a brief email that afternoon. Conflict protocol followed correctly. Graham Sheridan removed from all processing responsibility on the parcel as of November 29th. No further action required on your end. I printed the email. I put it in the Lake House folder alongside the billing contact update confirmation, the forwarded tax bill with the December 1st timestamp, and the delinquency transfer record. The folder was not thick, 6 pages, 1 for each year, roughly. It did not need to be thicker than that. I set the folder on the corner of my desk where I keep finished files. Outside the office window, the February light was coming in flat and gray, the kind that does not cast shadows, that makes everything look equal. The county property database was open on my screen. The assessment queue was 11 properties long. I worked through it the way I work through everything. 1 property at a time. The correct name in the correct field, the record saved and closed. For 6 years, I had made sure that property was cared for. I had shown up 41 times because the alternative was watching something good go to ruin. I had paid $23,800 because nobody else did. I had maintained a place I did not own because I found I could not let it deteriorate, and because I believed, for a long time, that the people who owned it understood what that meant. Then my parents gave it to Spencer at a dinner table with a key on a ribbon, and 3 weeks later my mother texted me to send $4,200 like usual. I simply replied, I know how the filing works. I have always known. For 6 years that knowledge protected a property that was never legally mine. When the property changed hands, the knowledge stayed with me. That is the thing about what you learn. It belongs to you. The deed follows the owner. The bill follows the deed. The person who stops paying stops being responsible. That is how it works. It has always been how it works. If your family has ever handed everything to someone else and then texted you when the bills came due, leave a comment below. Subscribe to Family Secret Tales, where the quiet ones always know how the filing works.